The views and opinions expressed by our host and guests are of their own opinion and experience and are not representative of their occupations, houses of worship, or any other intellectual property. Athens Avenue is not liable for its audience's adaptation of said experience over the next hour.
What is Athens Ave? Athens Ave is a hangout where the body of Christ can come and wrestle with our witness in the world that is becoming increasingly intolerant to our presence, to our position, and most of all, the praise to our God. What is Athens Ave? It's where we give a biblical worldview on life and ministry and seek to courageously respond to it as it's happening. You never know who you might see on Athens Ave. On Athens Ave, you're going to hear gossip in the pew. You're going to hear a fight in this corner. And on Athens Ave, we'll provide wisdom from the men of Issachar. It's always going down on Athens Ave. Make sure you make it right on Athens Ave. How are you?
Okay. It's been a long day, you know.
It has. Listen, I thought that the show wasn't going to go on, okay, with all of my technical difficulties. It's good to be here. How art thou?
Thou
How you
art
feeling?
fine.
Well, I'm glad that I'm better because at first I was a little stressed out, but it was a rough week, if I can be honest. Can you believe we're already halfway through the season?
Halfway.
Does that even make sense?
Hey, and folks is not happy about this 8 show seasons we have.
So do we want more? Do we want more episodes?
Do you want more? I feel like the Roots. Do you want more? Yeah, man. You know.
Sorry.
Tell me get that.
So should we
get that ad right? Get that ad right. Get that money right. We can give you more shows. You know what I mean? Get it right. You know.
Yes. Now a commercial from our sponsors. Yes, that's what we want to be able to do. We want to say it's a commercial from our sponsors so that we can do more shows. Absolutely. You are correct on that. So you already see it on the bottom. The Cash App tag is there. We're just gonna start. We're gonna open the doors of the church early. Sure. Go ahead. If y'all want to just give and donate to this good ground, go ahead and do so. But I'm going to attempt to share my screen. I couldn't upload this video for whatever reason because we're just gonna get right into it. I've got something to tell you. I've got some news in the pew.
Being a pastor was cool, right? So it was like everybody wanted to be a rapper, everybody wanted to be a podcast host. It seems like a lot of people wanted to be a pastor for the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
You missed that era, the pastor era?
I don't remember the pastor era.
You don't? Man, it was building them huge churches. Everybody was, I think the pastor phenomenon came from,
getting money in the church. It's a bunch of different things. You can speak to it more, but I think getting money in the church and how you look and how you're praised is, and you forget that he's supposed to be praised, but how they praise you and all that type of stuff. So yeah, I see a lot of Instagram pages out there, but it is what it is.
You killed it. You killed that whole thing. I think a lot of pastors were not called a pastor. They just, study, you go to school, and then you just become a pastor, like you become a manager at, Publix or something like that. And that's unfortunate for a lot of people who invest their, money, time, attention, and their soul into people who they believe are literally called from God. I don't believe a lot of pastors are. I think it's a system now. Oh God, it's a system. Everything is a system, and systems work with or without God. So I think the institution of church is whack. I think how church is ran is whack. I think the religious system and structure is whack. I don't subscribe to it, even though I grew up in it. I benefited from it, but I learned that God is not the church. And once I realized, whoa, God ain't church. That for me, you know what I mean? I ain't from the streets, I'm from the church. So that was a huge thing as well.
It's in the Bible, though. It says you can't even find God in a man-made temple.
Why don't we read that, though? How often do you hear that sermon? No, you hear pastors make the people about the church. We got the church name, we church and the bumper sticker, the church. The church should be about the people. The church should be about the people, but the church makes the people about the church. So all churches now are a movement, but they're not about the people. They're not about serving and loving the people. So I just kind of pulled out. We're online right now. We're not even in a building, a physical building or nothing like that. So Live Church, shout out to Live Church. I love y'all so much. Live Church Orlando, we're online right now. And because we had an issue with a building, and now I'm like, hold up. What's going on here? Like, do we need a bit? Like, you understand what I'm saying? Like, in order to do what we need to do, affect people, serve and love and minister, I'm just looking at everything differently at this point because the church structure has really, I mean, there's a lot of people who won't even go to church, obviously. When the last time y'all been to church?
I go every Sunday.
Okay, not you.
But no.
He goes on TV.
I go Bedside Baptist.
Oh, you on TV?
Yeah. I like watching Potter's House online.
So here's the thing, guys. Catch this. I know we've talked about this live already, but it was still important for us to talk about this on our show. So that's why we are presenting the clip twice. So if you've heard this conversation before, chime in the comments. If you haven't heard the conversation before, this is what we talked about. So the video I just gave you was Todd Tribbett. He gave maybe the middle of March, right? He gave a speech where he said that, the church is whack. And we caught that soundbite. We caught the soundbite. I have a difference of opinions, but we'll talk about my difference of opinions. If you've already saw it, then you saw it already. But I bought it here so that we could hear my scholars. I call them my scholars. I know I'm sharing them with you guys, but my brothers are my scholars. And I wanted to hear what they thought about this topic again.
I think you got to be careful what you say. And unfortunately, most of what he said was cut and not a part of the actual soundbite that goes on when he says the church is whack, the institution is whack, the way it's ran is whack, the religious system and structure is whack. And he just goes on what he benefited from it, grew up in it, but it's whack. Now he says that, and later on he communicates, I didn't mean the whole church. And so he does, but he was talking under somebody even when he said it. And so you didn't fully hear him say he was speaking about certain churches that do certain things. But when he painted like that and he's sitting in a national broadcast media situation, you got to just be more responsible in the things that you say as a believer, as a pastor, as a recording artist who has 13 Grammy nominations for the gospel. He got to be more careful of how he communicate about the bride of Christ. Now, the fact that he said the church should be about the people is not. The church is not about the people. The church is people, but it's about Christ. It's not about the people. It's about Christ. So he said some things that were challenging. Even when Charlemagne said, yeah, you can't find God in a man-made temple. No, it's God does not live in a man-made temple. You want to quote the scripture correctly, but God is omnipresent, meaning he's everywhere at all times. And so we can worship God in a temple. Obviously, the ultimate one is going to be one not built by hands, that he's building our eternal place where we're going to be. But this idea, the way he said it is like, yeah, God ain't even in church where we're going. And the fact that he kind of signed off like, yeah, why you hear sermons about that? Like, he was trying to be so down with Charlemagne and Envy and what's her girl name?
Just hilarious.
Yeah, hilarious. Like, I'm sometimes Christians try to be so in.
If you want to reach those kids on the street, then you got to do a rap to a hip hop beat.
He was just very agreeable to everything that they were saying. When my man said, yeah, I like this God, that God, the weed God, and like there's all things that's going on. And again, he wasn't there to preach. I don't think he was seeming to be there to promote him, and they to promote him and his Grammys and his nominations and all of that, and that's all good.
Yes,
but there's a level of when you step into a certain place, you represent God everywhere you are, and to be embraced by them and liked by them and cool by them, yeah, that's all good. But that ain't your audience. Your audience is an audience of one, and that's the Lord. And I'm sure he got to look back at everything he's seen and watch that video and be like, Lord, if he's truly genuine in his faith, and only him and the Lord knows that, I would, if that was me and I did everything that he did, I would feel like, golly, I let the Lord down. And I had an opportunity to lift the Lord up. I said something because I got caught up in a moment. Everybody human. Everybody do it. And the cameras is live and the mics is on. That's why I said there's a level of responsibility you got to have when you step into that place.
Hi, crew.
Hello.
Keep it short. Keep it short. We already did a live about it, guys. Let's do that. Let's do the abbreviated version.
So
I got to tell them first.
So we're at a funeral and the preacher only gets 2 minutes to get
2 minutes, not 5. Okay.
Yeah, I agree with everything Dr. L.A. said. If I were to add something to it, is that he has to remember, and he probably may be offended with this, he's not qualified to criticize the church. What makes you qualified is if you created the church. So if you didn't create it, you can't criticize it. So if I was him, I'd be very careful about that, because Jesus said, upon this rock I would build my church. He wasn't talking about a physical building. He was talking about the church. And so to make your comments about its structure and everything, I would prefer him to say, in his church, we got some messed up. He doesn't know what goes on in every quote unquote church. So you can't speak as if you're an authority over all churches, because you don't know what's going on in them all. So I'll leave it at that. And I thought you did an excellent job there, Dr. L.A., because I had more to say, but 2 minutes are up.
Yeah. No.
Thank you for being obedient.
No, I also agree. I think Dr. L.A. hit on everything. I think just one of the things that was sad in looking at that and listening at that again was he lost the prophetic witness that he could have had, not only with Charlemagne Just Hilarious and DJ Envy, but this is a well-known show. And I didn't hear Christ. I didn't hear Christ once in that little snippet, but it was his understanding of the church is thwarted, is wrong. In many ways, it's incorrect. I think if he really understood, he's a pastor. He talked about the church that he pastors, and he separated what they do, but yet the church is whack. The institution is whack, and it's just like there's a ton of contradictions. I think it shows a level of immaturity to really want the approval of these three individuals, and to kind of really walk over this body called the church. I hope he grows from this because he has a platform. He has a platform, and I hope he grows from this. I hope he hears the critique and grows from his understanding and communication of the church being whack and the institution being whack.
Yeah, let me say this. He did mention Christ. He did mention Christ during the podcast.
Okay.
During the whole segment. Not in that snippet. But he did mention, and he mentioned Christ as the only way. He did mention that. He did mention that in the full podcast.
Okay. He did. Again, he said Christ is the only way, and that's how he goes. He did say that that's who he stands on. But I think also if he was in a different setting, to your point, Dr. L.A., which was my argument, right? My argument has always been, hey, if you feel this way about the church, get around other theologians and you guys talk about how you can make it better and what you feel it's wrong. But you don't get on the Breakfast Club and talk about it with people that are unlearned, right? They're not, just talking about her church. She ain't been there. Okay. So that was a wrong environment.
One of them attend online when they feel like it. And the other one,
and the other one, well, he embezzles money. So we know what he's doing.
This is Dr. Anderson, and I'm back to tell you about an important work, The Pastor's Wives Diaries. This is a book that's coming out soon. I, along with my co-author, Christine James, sat down, we prayed, and we began to put pen to paper. We got 15 women joining us in this journey to tell the story of the pastor's wife. This is a book that gives you a look at the first family like you've never seen before. I'm guaranteeing you, you will see the pastor wife as a different person after you experience this book, The Pastor's Wives Diaries. It's coming soon.
And we're back. Whew. I didn't think I was going to be able to end that segment. Y'all, I'm telling y'all, that is a hot topic no matter when we discuss it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's one of those.
Oh, it's one of those. But I'm going to bring back our buddy because they're all here to see him. We get it. They're here to see our Dub and hear what he got to say, okay? Because the drama is always here with him, okay?
Lord.
How you doing, Pastor R-Dub?
All the time. I'm doing well.
Okay.
Man
good.
born of a woman, life is filled with troubles.
So should the pastor be social media friends with their members?
In this corner.
You good?
I'm doing well, man. I'm
okay.
good, man. I'm ready to get your insight and view on this one.
Okay.
Because I believe that it's okay for pastors to be social media friends with their members. I know there are boundaries, but I think that it's one way to stay current to some issues and to understand what's going on and exciting things going on in the members' lives, and even have an opportunity to engage some conversations that they may have with their peers. And I think that this helps the pastor to broaden and be sensitive to things that's going on in their members' lives, not using it in a sermon, but the idea of having good conversation and respecting boundaries. But I think it's okay because you would expect that pastor to be mature enough to choose and pick his words very carefully when he is discussing things on social media. Now, I have to admit, some things I've seen that's crazy, and I want to say something, and it's not with the members, with the broad platform. The Lord has to tell me, hold up, let it go, pray for him, and keep it moving. And this helps the pastor to grow as well in knowing what fight to get involved, when to speak and when not to speak. You're living out the scriptures there. I see you just chomping at the bit.
No,
Go ahead,
I'm listening to you, man. I think I believe that there is a lack of social media etiquette. We were not giving, and I believe we probably should have social media classes to learn how to deal with. I don't know, I work another job besides pastoring. And we have social media guidelines. There's certain things because you're always representing the company, you're always representing the Lord. There's certain things that you just don't do because we see it as being detrimental to who you are and who you represent. Unfortunately, when our members get on social media, many of them tend to forget whose they are. And they begin to behave in ways, and they display things that I'd rather not see. All of my children are now all 18 and above.
Wow.
But I'm not friends with them on social media platforms. If they want me to see a video, they send it to me. They want me to see a TikToker, they send it to me. But I don't follow them. I don't watch them because I don't want to see all of that. I don't need to see all of that. And so for me and members, I don't send members friend week requests, but I won't reject it. So I will accept it, but I don't send it. So I don't invite that type of relationship, and I try to let you have that personal space. I think many of them forget that there's a separation. I don't know how you can forget that personal space is on a public domain. And so you see behavior. I see a whole lot of things. I see more of your body than I need to. I hear more of your colorful language than I need to. I see more of the things that you're into. And pastorally, once you send me a friend request, then you're inviting me as your pastor into your life. And so I think with that, I have a responsibility now to now say something about that which I see, right? And so now I got to not only pastor you in in the church, pastor you in the world. Now I got to pastor you on social media as well. And I don't like being a social media police, but now I got to send you a private message and say, do you think that post is really helpful? You think that's really building up? You think that's really a representative of you? Do you recognize that there's a weaker brother out there, or a
Mhm.
weaker sister that's out there? And normally I realize I don't see they post no more because at that point they have defriended me, or they even walked out of the building because I've held them accountable or something that they forgot they even friended me in the first place, and thus it ends up being, wow, you were a member, you were a friend on Facebook, now you're not a friend or a member because I held you accountable or something that you really didn't want me to see, but you forgot you sent me a friend request.
Well, I hear you, and everybody's entitled to their perspective on this subject. However,
Obviously.
I look at it like pastoral opportunity. This is where your people are. So you can send a devotional. What I would suggest in cases like that, hey, you can give some biblical clarity. For example, I'll give you one. When somebody is complaining about something and how they can't stand people, you can just drop a scripture. The Bible does tell us to love our neighbors as we love ourselves. You can tell, hey, love your enemy, forgive, move on. You can drop nuggets there, and that can be helpful because it also gives you opportunity for all those that are on that person's friend request to see what was communicated, and it may end up open up a door for evangelistic opportunities. And I think we need to don't limit what God can do with the relationship on social media. And you can have the other stuff outside of social media. You can have that on television. You can have that when you're walking down your street in your gated community. You can see and hear various stuff. But in this one, you can still utilize it as an opportunity to encourage, build up in the faith, and even evangelize their extended people.
Well, I think you're missing it. I didn't say it
I don't
wasn't.
think I'm missing it.
I don't think it wasn't an opportunity for ministry. Yes, if that's why they friend you, if they want that ministry, is a reason why they advise teachers not to accept friend requests from students. Right? They
Yeah.
they want to keep a divide between the two, between that person with power and
Mhm.
that other person. They want to keep that Joe familiarity out of there so that person don't think I have a deeper relationship with you, a personal relationship with you,
Mhm.
when I don't, right? And so the fact that we're all Christ ambassadors, it means that we all are called to act a certain way, right?
Correct.
And the sad part is, like I said, there's no barriers that individuals won't cross. I'm not saying,
Mhm.
I think it's a plethora of opportunity for
Right.
ministry if that's what you use it for. But many times it's not being used for that. I'm being tagged in political things, that I
Mhm.
don't agree with. I'll
Right.
be tagged in all kinds of things that are supposed to be supporting something that I don't support. I've
Mhm.
never been there, so I can't say I support that. And I'm just saying, there's a level. Like it was like you said when we started, as a pastor, you should know what did I. We just talked about a pastor who we felt didn't know some things. So I
Yeah.
can't even go with, as a pastor, you should know, right? Yes, we can be encouraging. Yes, we can
Mhm.
say happy birthday and happy anniversary, and we can celebrate things. But again, I think we got to be so careful.
Mhm.
First, as a pastor, you got to be so careful to recognize that your post is a post that represents the entire church. So I think pastors need etiquette in what you
Mhm.
post and what you say. I think members do as well. But I think it should be a conversation and say, hey, if you invite me, and I say that I've said this from the pulpit many times, if you invite me to be your friend in social media, you are inviting me into your life. And so expect me to be a part of your life. If you don't want that, don't invite me into your life. And so I have many members who won't send me a friend request, others that will send me a friend request. And like I said, I respond accordingly, but I don't send them one, right?
Mhm.
Intentionally, right? So that they can have, you want to have your private life, you go ahead and do your private thing. But if you invite me in, I'm not coming in as your friend, I'm coming in as your pastor.
Well, I
There's
think
a difference.
I
And so
think
that's
that.
what I'm saying. When I'm talking about a friend request,
Mhm.
my friend request is called a pastor request. That's why my name on Facebook is Pastor Anderson. I'm not a friend request. I'm a pastor request. So if you requesting friendship with me, that's a pastor request, not a friend request.
Well, the question says, should the pastor be social media friends with their members?
And my
So,
answer is I'm a pastor request.
but you don't change the narrative now, like some folks
I didn't
who
change
think
the narrative. I gave you my answer. You
that's
think
your
you were
answer.
just
But
tell me
I'm
what
saying,
that's my
no, man.
answer.
Hold on, I let you talk with respect. So give me some
But
respect.
don't
No,
change
no,
what I'm
no, no,
saying. No, don't change what I'm
It's
saying,
not a
though.
pastor
That's my
of
answer.
social media. That's your. But I think sometimes we need, and I do agree with the point of the student and teacher. But I don't look at this as a student and teacher scenario. And you can look at that. I'm looking at this, and I'm taking it to the level of a mature pastor whose
What
aim
about
is.
an immature
All
pastor?
right, I'm not done yet.
But what about it? All right, Doug. What about
Well,
an immature pastor?
and you got immature pastors, immature people, and I'm saying you
So
have
that's
that.
what I'm saying. You got to go to the worst case scenario. You can't go to the best case scenario. I'm just taking
You
it as
got to do both.
the
You got to do
mature
both.
pastor. I'm saying
Yeah,
look at the other one on the other side of it. That's not the
yeah,
mature one. You got pastors
and
that
I
end up
agree
having
with that.
you got pastors that end up having affairs with members that start on social media.
Man, some of them jokers have affairs with members without social media.
Yeah,
So you
that's
can, if you're going to do it, you're going to creep no matter what. What I'm saying is
nah,
that
not
if you can have a
come on, bro.
healthy, you can have a healthy situation on social media, but you got to have some boundaries with it. So therefore, I
I
think
don't want to start with boundaries. I know you gotta have boundaries, but the
that's
point
what I
is,
said
but
originally.
there's some danger spots that you just seem to just want to gloss over
No, I
because
don't want to gloss over it.
you want to
I
start with
know
the
that.
mature pastor.
Yeah,
If your
I
premise,
was using that
if
as
it
an
says
illustration.
if it say should the mature pastor be
Okay.
social media friends, right? That's what you want to do.
Okay, guys, how's everybody doing out there? Is the temperature out there good for you guys? It is really hot for Pastor Colin High, being backstage. This, my friends, is a brawl. Let me just talk to PK because I feel like the two of us have experienced some trauma. PK,
Yo.
I mean, what's happening
Yo.
on the avenue?
I don't know what. It started real slow, and
It
then it
started
real
real
slow,
sweet.
and
And
then
look,
these
I had
guys.
to take I took
Yeah,
my
no, they
head my
yelling. They raise
I
their
was like,
voice.
I took my
Oh,
headphones out. I took my
oh
headphone
my
out
goodness.
because I said, are they screaming right
They
now
screaming.
at
They
each
was
other?
going at it. I thought they was gonna
Okay.
fight.
I thought they were going
Sheesh.
to fight as well. So basically, what is your issue? What is your, because before they come back, I just don't know. What do you feel about this topic? Should pastors be social media friends with their members?
Um, yes. I think
Okay.
I mean I saw great points on both sides. I know that's a cop out. I do realize that, but
Well, we
I
know that Dr. LA just cash apped you, so it's fine. I know that
yeah,
our I
okay.
gotta be on our dub side. You know, he gotta have a partner. I know. Go ahead,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Well, I know I see the drawbacks of having members as social media because as social media friends, I saw
Okay.
that the issue there. I do think it can open up the door for discouraging the weaker brother. That was brought up.
Okay.
How the things that we post become permission. They can become permission for some who are following us to do things that they're not mature enough to handle. I saw
You saw both. Okay.
good stuff on both
All
sides.
right.
Yeah, I think
So and
Switzerland.
I agree. I mean, I think with healthy boundaries, but then the questions did start to change a little, and then we started talking about
Yeah,
affairs, and I was
yeah.
like, how do we get to affairs? So I'm gonna bring the host and the other co-host back. What is happening, gentlemen?
Yo,
Come
I hope
on.
blessed are the peacemakers. They should be called the sons.
Are we
I'm
good?
fine.
I
I'm
mean,
fine.
that seemed like y'all had some beef there. I
It's
see some
seriously,
animosity between the
y'all
two.
good?
That's just talking over each other.
Well, let's
Cats
be clear.
interrupting.
We done had three weeks. I think y'all heard y'all seen some mild manner in this corners.
Oh, y'all not playing. We are going to put a small pin in this topic. We're going to go to our next commercial. And right after the commercial break, I will bring up the minute Issachar, and they will be talking about this topic. How does a pastor become a shepherd of the flock versus a manager?
For many clergy couples, the struggle comes when the pastor and wife are not on one accord regarding her role and responsibilities at the church. Admittedly, most of us enjoy the perks that come along with this role. Perks like fancy clothes, preferential seating, dinners, gifts, recognition, respect, trips, banquets, etc. Concurrently, I don't know of any pastor's wife who has been able to totally avoid the issue of frustration, rejection, stress, even betrayal inherent in our ministry role. The blurred line between marriage and ministry, clergy and congregation, servant and the served, our families and the faithful, can create a breeding ground of internal resentment and marital discord. Can I get a witness?
Men of Issachar.
Hey.
Yo, we back.
Good
What's
evening.
going on?
Hey, it's a good day.
I had to go in the back, take a shower after the fight.
After
come back
that,
out.
that was where the wounds at? Where's the black eye? Getting
But he kept using his hands. I thought we was using our heads and our mouth, but his hands kept coming up in there.
Yeah, like he wanted something. Like he wanted
man. Yeah, so.
But
it's good to see you, man.
Yeah, same here. And I think this is a topic. How does a pastor become a shepherd of the flock versus a manager? And it's kind of interesting. I think that word manager, you correct me if I'm wrong, I think we're going more for coach, like someone like a TED Talk, someone that is one voice among many as a coach versus a shepherd. And I mean, we've seen that. Where we become one voice among many when it comes to shepherding people within the church. And just the ramifications of that are very interesting. I know the way that it feels when it happens it may leave, and you correct me if I'm wrong, it may leave you feeling offended that here we are, we've committed our lives to shepherding people, but yet folks are unwilling to really take the role of shepherd seriously as a guide, someone that's guiding, that's helping one to grow as a disciple of Jesus Christ.
Well, it was interesting, the way you just said that. I agree, because there's two sides to this. One, you got your pastor side, the one who dedicated his life to be a shepherd, right? And then the other side, you got the member side, and as that pastor who, now again, all pastors aren't shepherds, as we know, right?
Absolutely.
So you got some pastors who want to be managers and just manage the people and manage the programs, and they can run it like a business. You got others who may want to be coaches. I just want to help you achieve whatever goal you have for your life. But then you got those who want to be shepherds, who really want to see you grow and become more like Christ. Like, I'm not interested in giving the halftime speech every time I get up and preach.
Absolutely.
As much as I'm trying to help you get from this week to next week, and I'm taking you through an expository message, and I'm taking you through a journey to learn more about God and how you interact with God and how to grow in God. And my goal is not just to help you. It's not a self-help talk. I'm not here just to help you feel better about you. And so that who you are is as important, as who you represent and how you do that. And from a member perspective, is different, because all of them are not looking for shepherds anymore. They're looking for a coach. Somebody come to me, they're not asking my advice. Pastor, should I buy this house? Should I take this job? Should I date this person? Should I move to this new location? It's, Pastor, I'm doing this, pray for me. Like, I'm already made my decision, and they treat you like they do God. Just bless it. I made my decision. I don't really need your input. I just need you to pray for what
Bless
I have decided.
to do. And I think that you hit it right there. That whole anoint this thing after I've done it. I'm in this situation. I've married this person. I'm in this relationship. I've taken this job on Sunday, and I just need you to kind of come around and pray, bless this thing as I'm navigating this thing. And so the whole idea of shepherd, someone who gets involved in your life, someone who challenges you, someone who may warn you. You take seriously the words of the Apostle Peter, 1 Peter 5, and Paul in many places, shepherd the flock, shepherd the flock. And what does that look like? What does that mean? And I think you hit it. The appetite of the member in North America, the average member in North America today, is that you are one voice among many. You're a TED Talk. I like you on Sunday, but I'm gonna easily compare what I've received from you on Sunday with what I get from this talk show or this podcast. So we're like competing with podcasts and shows and blogs and all these things and other people's favorite preacher. And shepherding is a very local, contextualized thing. It's a very personal thing. Pastors invest their lives in people. And when your words are minimized and placed alongside other things, it's like, nah, you're just showing up and you're just kind of experiencing this thing. And it's almost like a theater. It's almost like a show that you're watching that becomes entertainment. And I wonder how people grow through that. And I wonder if people
I'm
really
telling you, man, I find it challenging. I mean, it's being facetious, but it's like telling somebody, what to eat, telling them not to smoke, telling them not to over drink, and they don't want to hear any of it. But yet they want you to pray for them for being pre-diabetic, pray for them for having lung cancer, pray for them for having sclerosis of the liver. Never will I listen to you hold me accountable of the action, but I definitely need you to pray and walk with me through the consequences. It's like no, you don't want to hear me say nothing about premarital sex, but yet you want to now come tell me like, yo, I got this baby and I wasn't expecting it's this idea golly, it's like nothing you say really means anything beforehand. It's just come help me after I hit this place. And it's like, man, they don't understand that I'm not telling you something to keep you from having a good time, keep you from enjoying. The Lord said, I came that you may have life and have it more abundantly. Like, I'm not trying to stop you from living, but I am trying to help you prevent some of the pitfalls of the choices that you make. That's what shepherding is about, right? It's about my rod and my staff. They comfort me, right? It's about guiding you. It's about helping you and steering you away from, right, the wicked waters and lead you behind the still waters. Like this whole idea of grabbing your sheep and loving your sheep and keeping them close and protecting your sheep and providing for your sheep. Like that's what you do. That's the whole point. You do what you do. It's really not to present the best sermon. It's really not to have the biggest church. It's really not to go up and show I'm a pastor that can sing. I'm a pastor that can hoop. It's really not about any of that. When you truly got a shepherd's heart, it's not about this performance that take place on Sunday. It's about how far you will let me into your life, right? From Monday through Saturday, and we celebrate together on Sunday. The letting you in the life part, that don't happen no more, except on social media. All right, they do let you.
Well, and I think I mean it is wild. I think this particular show, just the whole idea of biblical community, like the whole what happens within church, what happens within biblical community. I mean, there's accountability, there's encouragement, there's challenging. I think a lot of the church, a lot of believers have missed out on what it can be and what it should be and the benefit of it. Because when we become Sunday morning focused and centered, and the rest of my life, Monday through Saturday, that's my life. Those 2 hours on Sunday or those 3 hours, depending upon what type of church you go to, that's when I do that. And I think that when you have that separation, I think it's a problem. I think it's a challenge. And I think that kind of environment raises baby Christians. It keeps Christians babies for a very long time and immature and unable to handle the waves of life as well as the waves of doctrine. And so you see somebody one week and they're in church, and the next week they're in garb. Or they're in the corner. And it's just like, yo, no, they didn't want a shepherd. They didn't want a shepherd. This was the hot thing this week, and there's something else. And it's just like, yo, if you were simply tossed to and fro by every wave of doctrine, you weren't really vested in. You weren't really listening. You weren't really committed to the discipleship, the following Christ piece of the Christian walk. And it's sad, but we do see it.
But I think what you said is so good, man. If you minimize what we do down to a 30-minute message on Sunday, then you have no clue what shepherding is or discipleship. And you're absolutely right. That is how you could be a Christian one week and be in garbs the next week. You're absolutely right. Because you do not have and you have not submitted to the fellowship that comes along with this call of discipleship and in Christian faith, man. That's good.
Absolutely.
That's good.
Absolutely.
I'm proud of them. They did good.
I bought you up here to add insight, and you just say,
well, no. One of the things when y'all been talking about shepherding of the flock, I think to some degree, and I know versus coaching. Because coaching is just helping people to quote unquote get what the society says is a success, apart from God, as opposed to what success is in Christ. And I think that's one thing. But I think to some degree, the people in the pew got a misconception of what a pastor shepherd is, because they've allowed external forces to tell them this is what a pastor ought to do. This is what, as opposed to sitting back and understanding when the Bible says, I'll give you pastors after my own heart, and understanding that this is to grow you in the faith so that you can function as that priesthood that you have because of Christ. But I thought you guys handled that well. I appreciate that.
Okay, guys, we're going to go ahead and see us on the spot. I'm so excited about this next guest. Yes, on the spot. Dr. L.A. and I had a great time with this guest. So here we are.
Is this your favorite segment?
This is my favorite segment. And I didn't want to say anything.
All right.
I didn't want to say anything, but this is totally my favorite segment, guys. Yeah, it's on the spot where Dr. L.A. and I get to just interview all of the amazing people. So I'm just going to get started because everyone's waiting. Here we go. Christine James is a facilitator of honest conversations toward wholehearted living. After many years of counseling, teaching, and facilitating others, she has developed a passion for loving people, especially women, to become their authentic selves. The people connected to her have described her as dynamic, powerful woman, confident of the call of God on her life. And she seeks to teach women to give their personal desires and dreams to God and allow the overflow of his goodness in their lives to create a passion for the lost, pointing to what way? Jesus. Hello, the only way. She has a Bachelor of Arts degree in psychology, which she earned at Eastern University, a master's degree in counseling education from Villanova. Shout out to Villanova. And she currently works as a freelance trainer and consultant. And she serves as vision pastor of CareView Community Church in Lansdowne, Pennsylvania, alongside her husband, Paul James, who's the senior pastor. So I introduce to some, present to some, and all of those things, none other than Christine James. How are you?
I am doing awesome. So good to see you guys.
It is good to be seen.
It's good to see you as well.
Yes.
So, I got you on the show. Yeah.
I feel so honored. I feel like I'm like some superstar to be with you guys.
Yeah.
This is awesome.
So let me start. I met you decades ago on a prayer retreat with your husband, Pastor Paul James. Shout out to my man. And just, the Spirit of God. It was almost like the dove resting, over Jesus, and the Lord saying, "This is my son with whom I'm well pleased." It was like you saw a spiritual tenderness and maturity that is so admirable in you, that I so appreciated. And then to go from that in our journey to becoming, which I told her to leave out of the bio so I can say, my co-author in a pastor's wives diaries. So that right there is a masterpiece that's coming out. Probably about a month from now, we're gonna see that come to fruition. That baby that we birthed together, and I want to talk about that in a literal sort of literature sort of way, that we brought that to fruition. But talk to me about your love already for women, your ministry to women, and then coming into this project to specifically deal with not just women but with pastors' wives. Tell us how
Yeah.
you heard that when you got the invite, and how you seen it, perceived it, and yeah, just
Mm.
give me that.
I have a burden for women, particularly Christian women and Christian women of color. I don't know about all the other women all the time, but I know women of color that I have engaged with over the years, that sometimes believers are less loving and engaging with one another, and open and authentic and honest. And it tends to be more of a comparison
Mm,
situation than loving openness. And so I've had some pain surrounding that in my life. And even as I watch non-believing women in like movies and so forth, they have these wonderful retreats on rooftops, talking and sharing their stories. And I
mm,
would say to myself, why don't Christian women do that? We are the believers. We have, Christ in our hearts. We should be better. But anyway, long story short, fast forward to being a pastor's wife, and it even got worse. I just, that is just one of the most challenging situations that I found myself facing as a young woman, a young mom, a young wife. And I had this one little story I wanted to share with you that happened to me at a leadership retreat in one of the churches that we were members of. And I was a young mom, young pastor's wife. Well, he was a minister at the time. And I went to this leadership retreat, and one of the young brothers, who was a minister also, came up to me and said, "Sister Christine, how are you doing?" And I said, "I'm not doing well at all." And he said, "Why? What's going on?" I said, "I'm struggling in my marriage and I'm struggling in ministry." And he proceeded to go, "Shh, shh, don't talk like that. Don't, you're a minister's wife. You can't tell those kind of stories. People won't receive that very well." And I
mm,
was just so heartbroken, because here I was in a leadership environment where I thought finally I could get some help, some support, and I was shut down. So, this issue of ministers' wives and the need for real, honest communication is deeply within my heart and soul. So, when Dr. Anderson invited me to be a part of this project, I initially was a little apprehensive, because I wasn't sure if the world was ready to hear real truths and what
mm.
that might mean for us in terms of some of the hits we might take as a result of that. But it was just too juicy for me not to jump on it.
I can't wait. I can't wait. Ooh.
As we worked on this project and got a chance to hear other stories, and
Mm,
you know your experience, but now
hmm
you have over a dozen other women sharing their experience as well. How much did what was said resonated with your own? How much was it? What did you find anything shocking and not like yours? And did you learn anything? Like tell me that journey as you're reading the stories.
Yeah, yeah. I wanted to sit in the room with all those ladies and say, "Girl, I know exactly what you talking."
Right.
Mm,
No, there's
Right.
nothing new under the sun. I could relate to every single story. I'm grateful to some of the betrayal and abandonment stories with husbands and wife. I'm so grateful I didn't have those stories, but I've been a part of situations where I've walked with friends through that, so I
mhm,
could relate to every story.
mm, mm. I as you know, as I embarked on this journey, my eyes was open. I was not nearly as aware or familiar to the journey and to the plight of being the wife
Yeah.
of one of us. And I told you I was embarrassed. I
Yeah.
repented from some
Thank
of
you,
these
Lord.
things that I just missed
Mm,
and just assumed. I was so consumed with all that
mm,
I'm dealing with. I could not even
mm.
imagine what was being dealt with by my wife. And
Right.
then when I'm reading the stories, it was difficult. It was difficult to read for me. It was difficult to see and hear. But I did really feel what you just said, that it may have been affirming for you. But how do you think, because the audience is broader than just the wives, how do you think
Right.
that the first thing pastors, the husbands are going to feel? And then
Mm,
how do you
mm.
think the church is going to be enlightened by this?
Woo, wow. I think one or two things are going to happen. My husband has a saying. He says that the love of Jesus will either drive you or draw you.
Mm,
And I think that this book will be very similar. That um, Pastor Anderson, when I first talked to you and heard your heart, I was so just taken aback by it, because I don't frequently hear pastors being so open with repentance like you were concerning this project. And as we started out this project, so I think if the church and pastors come with a pure heart, they will be totally blessed by this book. But the word of God says, to the pure, all things are pure. To the impure, all things are impure. So
mm,
I think that it depends on the, do you want to be made well? I think that, like,
wow.
when I think about my husband's relationship to me, and I think about some of the tensions we had as young people in ministry. And I remember at one point in particular, we had this 2-hour long fight to and from a dentist appointment in Reading, and we were arguing about, I didn't know how to show up in the room as a strong woman, and in traditional settings. And we were talking about, my feeling abandoned and disappointed by the church and different things like that, and not having a safe place to talk about it. And I'm grateful that my husband's purity of heart caused him to listen to me. He didn't
Mm,
say very much to me in response, but he listened. So I think that people who pick up this book or hear some of our talks about the book, if you have a heart to want to know what's on the hearts of God's people, particularly God's daughters and the people that you may be married to, if you're a pastor, to a pastor's wife, or the church, if you want to know what's really going on and the hurts and pains of the women who wrote these stories, then it'll be a deep blessing to you. And I think it'll cause, like you, Dr. Larry, deep repentance, but also joy and anticipation of how you could more effectively relate to these women who have been so often in the shadows and feeling invisible and isolated and frankly really, really alone.
absolutely, absolutely. And I think I can't give your husband enough credit, because he's the one who suggested you. I remember us being at breakfast and talking, and I'm talking to him about this book, and he's like,
Mm,
you might, and I don't know if he suggested you, but he suggested I have a woman come
mm,
alongside of me in this process,
mm.
because I really was wrestling, like, am I the one to write this? Am I the
Wow.
one, to do this? And he came with that suggestion. And then I asked his permission, could I ask you, and then I asked Kim, like, how you
Wow.
feel about that? Kim was like, yeah, she'd be excellent. Like, and
Mm.
it just came together. And for those who think I'm so demanding and hard to work with, would you dispel that myth and let them know how great I actually am?
Absolutely great, Dr. Larry. Absolutely great.
I think my camera. Oh, I'm sorry, guys. My camera broke.
You see my co-host and producer, she's the one I'm talking about, who think I'm so hard, at this process. But no, I think we work together seamlessly. I really do. I think it came
Hmm.
together. I think, one of the things that you suggested from the beginning, which was great, is that we have some people praying for us.
Amen.
As you thought from the beginning, that it was such an important work, that we were going to
Yeah.
face spiritual warfare
Oh, yeah.
in this
Hmm.
journey of writing. Tell me how you even felt that in your spirit, that we had to go in such a spiritual way?
Again, my experience with women in leadership has not been a real positive one at times, because there's such a need to. I think a lot of people feel a need to be self-protective, and that fear of vulnerability hangover, because I've been so wounded by people in the
Mm.
past. I knew that there were going to be issues where we had to kind of massage and help people to find their authentic voice. And then I think the fears of being attacked, because so many of us as pastors' wives have experienced such pain from
Mm,
people at our churches, sometimes pain from our family members or our husbands, whomever, that there's spiritual warfare that could kick up because we're telling the
Mhm.
truth.
Yep.
Because Satan specializes in darkness, and he wants us to stay in the dark.
mm,
But when you determine to walk in the light, I really believe that attack is just waiting in the wings. And so I'm really grateful that the Bible talks about how he's going before us and he's our rear guard. So I might as well go ahead and give him this project and pray, so that he knows what's coming in advance, and my heart can be prepared. And I know for me, I had to consistently along the way pray that I would not shrink back, because as I would
Mm.
take steps forward in my writing, there was great temptation to saying, hath God really said that same old lie that Satan said to Eve?
mm.
Am I really supposed to be doing this project?
Right,
And,
Oh.
right.
the funniest thing was, initially you invited me just to write one article, one submission. And I was like, okay, this one, that's cool. I got that.
Mhm, mhm,
And
mhm.
when you invited me to go deeper into this project, it was really humbling and a bit intimidating, because I knew what could potentially come with that.
Well, I know you, and it's and again, from the outside,
Hmm.
your stature and the way you
Mhm.
communicate, you command attention in the room, all of that. And then yet when
Yeah.
I asked you, you was like, I don't know if people want to hear from me. Like I was like, I mean, the last thing that I thought, the
Yeah,
humility, and do people want to hear from me, and will they receive it from me? Like all of that. I wasn't expecting. I was like, you was like, oh yeah, I got a story to tell. I was
Mhm.
expecting like, oh yeah, we could do this. And you really
right.
had to pray about whether or
Hmm.
not God was leading you and calling you and doing it, and whether or
Yeah.
not it would be received. And I just appreciated that humility, because so many people, again, which we realize with pastors' wives, so many people have a perception of you before you open your
Wow.
mouth,
Oh
True.
yeah.
before they know you,
True.
before they see you.
Mhm.
There's a judgment that's placed upon you, you
Oh
know,
yeah.
that many times you don't have you don't have a moment to dispel that.
Hmm.
And so I appreciate you saying yes.
Mhm.
Um, and I know when she was reading your bio, your mini bio, because I know you have the
Listen,
larger
I
one. She read
skipped a
the
little
mini
bit
one.
too. She's
Yeah,
amazing.
I know you're the mini one. But tell me, we always ask, because it seems like as believers, we're always overspent and overwhelmed, and we so busy, and
Mm.
and we got
Hmm.
so many different roles. Tell me how you manage all of the roles that you've been
Mhm.
called to play.
Well, it's interesting. I was just sharing this with one of the young ladies at my church, and I said, my life is impossible. And
Mm,
I really believe that that's the way God likes it, because the scripture says, faithful is he who has called you, he will do it. And so I
mm,
believe that God intentionally allows my life to be impossible, so that I have no choice but to depend completely on him.
Mm.
So, I was sharing with one of the young ladies that in the past, I remember as a young pastor's wife, I'd be running around the church trying to make sure I said hello to everybody. Oh, did I say hello to Sister So and so? Or she's going to be mad at me.
Right.
Oh, I better serve here,
mm,
because if I don't serve there and I'm show up there, they don't think I don't like them. And literally, I ended up getting high blood pressure. My hair was
Oh
falling
wow.
out. There was so much
mm,
stress. And
Right.
then I came across Psalm 62. Truly, my soul, wait thou on God. He
mm,
alone is my rock. All my expectation comes from him. And I changed my whole focus from me being hyper responsible and in terms of all the various tasks I have to do, but just literally waiting for the spirit to to say that, you'll hear his voice behind you saying, this is the way, walk ye in it. So literally, sometimes while I'm sleeping, for example, in these entries for the diaries, I'd be sleeping and the Lord would say, I want you to tell this story. And I would literally lean over from the bed, jot it down in a book, just a note to remind myself. And literally that's how the Lord interacts with me, through the grid of my listening prayer, I call it. It's not always just asking him for things, but listening prayer. And as I sit devotionally and just wait for him, he speaks. And so in Deuteronomy, it talks the story about don't go fight no battles that God didn't tell you to do. And so I literally sit and wait and wait for God to give me my assignments, because I'm too old to be running around these streets trying to do stuff that God ain't asked me to do. So
I know that's right.
that's how I manage it.
Well, I know the book is going to be encouraging to many when they read the stories, and specifically at the end of each chapter, you give a synopsis, you give some verses to meditate on, and a prayer to go with, and so they'll see that when they get the book. But as those who are listening now, whether or not they're pastors' wives or those who just get beat up by life. Help us understand how you continue to build yourself up and how you continue to stay strong when it feels like everything is beating you down.
Yeah. And that is hard when you're doing life. Life be life, and it really is.
I just text
there
somebody that too, just a couple minutes
and
ago.
you kind of feel like Job's children when just when you think you're through one thing, another thing shows up. But I think that as I talk to my millennial kids who are fighting in their journey in life, and it's often so discouraging. And I'm gonna tell y'all something: the pandemic really and the social injustice that happened as a result of that really hit me hard. Because I have young Black men and a beautiful young Black daughter that I'm seeking to shepherd, and so I had to find a way to hope in the midst of darkness and uncertainty. And I think that for me, it came down to worship and to just remember that God is really sovereign and he really does reign over all the earth, and for real, not just in a religious way. And
Right.
that just keeps me rolling. Literally, I'll be out in the grocery store and it's a worship song, and I will be rocking it right in the grocery store. I don't care where I am. I will worship because I'm a person that really struggled deeply with depression and anxiety and paralyzing fear until I discovered worship. And I think that that's the thing. But this can no longer be about religion and did you go to church this Sunday? It has to be that you find a way to go face to face with Jesus who loves us. And so, Colossians 3 talks about my life is hidden in Christ with God. I'm grateful because without that, I feel like I would be like, forget about it. I'm just one of them people that would be under the bed, not just sitting on the bed. I'd be under the bed. So that would be my thing.
I cannot, first of all, I mean, this has nothing to do with being on the spot, but you're amazing. I love your husband too. You are absolutely amazing. And we need strong women like you that we can glean from. And with that being said, we've talked about so many things. We talked about your book and how instrumental you are in the book. We've talked about what you do. But as a woman, we always have our why, right? We have our why. I know men have their whys too, but sometimes our whys are different than men's. So what is your why?
My why is all the young ladies who are following me. Discipleship is so important to me because when I was a young woman in my 20s, I just wanted somebody to tell me that I wasn't crazy. I just, and people in the Christian church were not talking. They were not sharing their stories. They were not being open and honest. They were just telling me to be a good girl or be a good Christian or, giving me platitudes. And so my why is to live my life as authentically and as open, my successes and my failures, because I have daughters. I have 2 daughters-in-law, and I have 1 biological daughter and 1 bonus daughter that I actively shepherd, but also I have spiritual daughters who are looking at me and women who are watching me. And I want them to know that it's okay to not be okay, that it's okay to be on a journey. So my why is that when I'm long gone, I want to leave a legacy of authenticity, that it's okay to show up and just be you.
And this is why I love you. I feel like I am the younger you. I just met you, but like that is everything you
Amen.
just said was like, tell me I'm not crazy. I mean, seriously, I know that I
Yes.
am maybe to the left, but can you just say it's okay? Oh my goodness. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
She just did the mic drop. Go ahead, you're fun.
really
She did the
did.
mic drop
Like,
right there. She did the mic drop on that one. I
he
appreciate the
totally
wow.
did. I don't even have any fun questions because I just feel like we just need to. Okay, I'll ask her 2 fun questions and then just let it go. She needs to leave us a nugget. Oh my goodness, you're amazing. Okay, what's your favorite color? I always start with that.
My favorite color, I would have to say, is kind of that pinkish orange kind of color. Not quite pink, not quite orange, but that little blend, the summertime sun
Okay.
look.
Okay, I love it, and it'll look good on your skin. I'm gonna have to go and find out what color that is. Yes, I have another question because you did mention girls, and you mentioned, women and how you mentor them. So this is going to be this is not a fun question. This is just a genuine question. So how do people, other than your website, how is that the only way they can get in contact with you in order to be mentored by you or to glean from you?
Well, I have young men and young women who contact me through our church website,
Men and women.
careviewcommunitychurch.org, but also I'm on Instagram and Facebook under my name. So I have people that hit me up that way as well.
He said, hit me up.
Just say hit me up. Right?
You better get hit up. You better get hit up. And then the last thing is, what's your favorite thing you like to cook?
Oh, wow. My favorite. First of all, my husband says I don't have a cooking spirit, but hey.
Oh my.
That sounds like something he would say.
But that doesn't mean I'm not a good cook. I
Right.
cook well because I love my family and I want to be a blessing to my family. But I would say my favorite thing to cook is pasta.
What kind of
Any
pasta?
kind of pasta.
Oh,
I really like seafood pasta. Let me say that.
They said a
Okay,
cooking spirit.
He said, he is a mess.
Yo, that is funny. That is funny. I do want to say this. When you talked about how can others glean from her, this right here, and I'm I ain't trying to prophesy, but this is the beginning of some books that you're going to hear come from her. She wrote effortlessly in making this happen, and she has some books in her. She has some wisdom in her, and I know she's going to be penning these things, and you're going to hear from her as an author as we go forward, and she's going to drop that wisdom because she has it. It's just a matter of getting it out of her and getting it on paper. But you're going to hear some more books come from her. Mark my words.
Amen. People of God, I just want you to understand that you are beloved. No matter what anybody says, no matter what anybody does, you're beloved. I want you to be bold and brave and beautiful one day at a time, walking out this beautiful thing called life. I believe in you. Take care.
All I can say is wow sometimes, right?
It's like, this is so much fun. This is so much fun. We just have just amazing guests. So again, if you guys want to be a guest, or if you have a topic, if you have an idea, please send us an email. If you would like to sew, you see the Cash App. And we're going to bring the gang back. This was a very good show, by the way.
And I would
Good
say
job,
even if they want
guys.
to suggest a guest, they can suggest a guest.
Oh, yeah, they can suggest a guest for sure.
That they want to see on here. Yeah, they can
that'd
suggest
be
a guest.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Suggest
Good job.
Who's closing us out?
I think you are.
Yeah.
No, I'm not.
I close
It's
this
my
out.
turn.
Yeah.
It's my turn to see what I'm doing.
Oh, they've elected me. They've elected me. You see how they make me last, guys? All the women in the chat. All the women in the chat. Holler at your girl.
Last? What did I miss?
Yeah, the first shall be last and the last shall be first.
And the last shall be okay. I got you. Don't.
We're just looking out for you. We're looking out for you.
I got you. Thank you, guys.
Well,
so
we saved the
thank
best
you.
for last.
Well, can I close?
Please do.
You about to catch it.
Well, you know what, guys? Thank you so much for taking time with us and my wonderful scholars who, today was a brawl. I'm glad to see that we are all laughing at the end, okay? So you guys have a good night, and we'll see you next week.
Peace.
We're back.
On the app.
On the app.
Yes, indeed.
Athens Ave.